On orders from her Nazi master, the most powerful war machine on the face of the earth was loose in the Atlantic. The British couldn't find her, but they knew she wielded the firepower that could single-handedly crush their war effort. Built in secrecy, she was a magnificent achievement of German technology, whose focus was fear and mass destruction. She was the battleship Bismarck. Surprisingly, her lifespan was that of a butterfly, just over a week. But that was enough for her to sink her dragon's teeth into the pride of the British fleet and blast her into eternity. This terror of the sea had to be destroyed. This is the epic drama of the greatest sea chase the world has ever known, seen through the eyes of the men who lived it. A life and death pursuit across 2 million square miles of storm-tossed ocean. Witness as the entire British Empire marshals its resources with only one purpose of heart: sink the Bismarck.
The battleship has epitomized naval power for more than a century. 3 simple principles define these great warships: speed, protection, and firepower. Put the biggest gun possible on a ship, make it go fast, and protect it with tons of steel armor. Battleships have always possessed this same lethal blend of speed and power. But keeping track of the Bismarck in this era was difficult. Intelligence techniques were primitive. There were no spy planes or satellites. Tubby had to rely on direct visual contact and good luck. On May 5th, the Fuhrer visited the Bismarck. Conspicuously absent from the event was Admiral Raeder. He was evading the question of when the Bismarck would sail. Raeder feared Hitler would forbid the mission, that the Fuhrer wouldn't want to risk losing the Bismarck. Hitler was not told Exercise Rhine was almost ready to begin. In just 2 weeks, the Bismarck and the Prinz Eugen would steam towards the Atlantic, never to return again.
A gigantic sheet of flame which shot round the compass platform. At the same time, we were all thrown off our feet again. And it seemed to me that it was like a vortex, spinning round type thing. And then she started going over to port. Now she had gone about 30 or 40 degrees, I suppose, and we realized that she just wasn't coming back. And we started to make our way out. There was no order given to abandon ship, it just wasn't necessary.
On the Bismarck, Mühlenheim Reckberg was astonished by what he saw at his viewfinder.
It was a terrible sudden end. I saw very high lower column, and at the lower end of it, 2 parts of the vessel standing at an angle and ready to sink, which she did. It was such a result we had not really come to expect, that the hood would go so quickly. Nobody had anticipated this.
The battle was just 8 minutes old. A shell penetrated the Hood's deck armor, exploding her ammunition magazines.
From the Victoria struck us on the starboard side. And down in our boiler room, bolts and screws started shooting out all around us. The boiler room became a total loss. We certainly noticed someone had knocked on our rump.
The damage to the ship wasn't serious, but the blast caused the death of one crewman, Bismarck's first fatality. As the attackers flew off, the Bismarck shot its main guns in their direction. Even if they didn't score a direct hit, the gigantic splash of the shell hitting the water was enough to bring down an aircraft.
We must have caught the outer edges of one of these splashes, which tore away the fabric from the bottom of the aircraft. I mean, there was no structural damage in anything. It was just that you could see the sea.
And we realized what an appalling carnage we were causing on board.
In just 90 minutes of battle, more than 2,800 shells were fired at the Bismarck, and more than 400 hit. Finally, at 10:15, Admiral Tovey called a ceasefire. He then ordered the Dorsetshire to fire her torpedoes into the Bismarck. Even though the German ship was badly crippled, the British were not hesitating to finish the job.
The last thing we wanted was the possibility that the Germans would get tugs or something out of there and get that ship back to harbour. I think that was the last thing that we wanted. She had to go to the bottom. There was no question, I don't think, that in my mind, that that's what had to happen. She had to be sunk.
Dorsetshire fired 3 torpedoes into the flaming hulk.
As our third torpedo was on its way, and before it hit it, the Bismarck turned completely upside down, and we saw her keel from stem to stern before she then slid down into the sea, stern first.
There's always been debate as to whether the British actually sank the Bismarck or the Germans scuttled their own ship.